Some more breaking news. 3 people were just killed in Israel after a direct Iranian missile strike hit Be'er-Sheva. This came during a wave of over 40 missiles launched in just under an hour. Right after President Trump just announced a ceasefire between Iran and Israel. He announced this as a complete and total ceasefire, saying Iran would pause first and Israel would follow 12 hours later. But here's the catch. Iran never publicly confirmed the deal. A senior Iranian official told reporters they agreed in principle to a ceasefire mediated by Qatar and proposed by the U.S., but Iran's foreign minister publicly denied that a former deal had ever been reached. He said Iran would only stop if Israel ends its, quote, illegal aggression. And as for Israel, they haven't officially confirmed anything either. Just a possible pause in strikes around 4 a.m. local time. But even after that, Iran's been hit hard and, well, they're still responding. So what does this mean for the so-called ceasefire? Well, right now, it's looking more like a U.S. announcement than an actual agreement between the two sides. Iran claims they paused around 4 a.m., but clearly they resumed. Now, this isn't necessarily a surprise. We weren't going to know the outcome of the ceasefire for 24 to 48 hours anyways. So it might still take effect, but only if both sides stop. And so far, neither has. So far, over 430 people have died in Iran and at least 24 in Israel, most of them being civilians, and it's still escalating. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte voiced concern over China's large-scale military expansion and its implications for Taiwan, stating that NATO must remain vigilant as China could coordinate with Russia to distract the alliance in Europe. This as China accused Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te of promoting heresy and inciting confrontation after he stated that Taiwan is, of course, a country with legal and historical justification. Thailand has imposed land border restrictions blocking most tourist travel into Cambodia amid rising tensions over a disputed area. Canada has signed a security and defense partnership with the European Union to reduce reliance on the US and participate in joint initiatives like the EU's Safe and Rearm Europe programs. Iran launched 19 projectiles at the US Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar in retaliation for US strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities, with one projectile landing inside the base perimeter but causing no damage or casualties, according to US and Qatari officials. Russia and Mali signed new trade and economic agreements during a meeting in Moscow, with President Putin and Mali's interim leader Assimi Goïta identifying potential cooperation in areas including geology, natural resources, logistics, and humanitarian efforts. A ceasefire between Israel and Iran was announced following intensive mediation by the United States and Qatar. The truce is structured in 2 phases. Iran halts its military actions first, followed by Israel 12 hours later, creating a 24-hour phase cessation of hostilities. U.S. officials, including President Trump, described the ceasefire as complete and total and unlimited, implying it is intended to be permanent. However, Iran's foreign minister clarified that no formal agreement was signed and that Iran's compliance is conditional on Israel ceasing its strikes by the agreed deadline, 4 a.m. Tehran time. The deal was brokered through back-channel diplomacy involving U.S. Vice President Vance, Secretary of State Rubio, and Qatar's Emir and Prime Minister. Despite the announcement, Iran continued strikes up to the final minute of the deadline, and some reports suggest sporadic projectile fire may have persisted even after the truce officially began. While Washington portrays the ceasefire as a breakthrough, the lack of formal ratification and mutual distrust raise questions about its durability. The situation remains fluid, with both sides maintaining readiness for renewed confrontation. This ceasefire may pause active conflict, but the underlying tensions between Israel and Iran are far from resolved.